Okay, let's create a new project. Okay, a new project, and let's call it Java review. Okay, and then let's make a package for this week's review. So let me call it com.java.review1. Oops, review1. Okay, and then we can work on the classes here. So let's create a class. So I don't want to go too much. Oh, let me also start recording. Sorry. Okay. So we'll start. I don't want to go too much in theory, so I want to go through the review with the real examples. Okay. So let's take an example. Let's say you have a person class. Okay. Okay, and this person class that has a couple of variables, which is string, name, integer, age. Maybe we always get these same examples, but I guess these are like a good example. And then let's create a constructor, or let me tell you first. So even if we don't write a constructor here, this class already has a default constructor. So if I go to the package and create a class, let's say person demo, okay, and have a main method, okay, and here in this class we can create an object of the person class, right? How do we create the object? We say that we have a variable p of type person, okay? So the type is the class here, class person, and we have a variable p, okay? And then we create an object, we instantiate an object saying p is equal to new, which is a special keyword, new person, and then this one already creates an object. So as you can see, we can use new person here, even though we didn't declare a constructor here, okay? And this is called default constructor, a constructor with no parameters. So Java already takes care of it. So if you don't want to create a constructor, Java already creates one for you, okay? And then if we here on person class, open this one, okay? And here on person class, let's say we wanna declare a constructor. So we say public, and then the constructor should have is a special method, which is the name of the method is the same as the name of the class, okay? Person. Yes, same name, okay. Okay, let me enlarge the font so that you can see. Is this one better now? Yes, okay. So we say public person, and then here's how we declare a default constructor, a constructor with no parameters. So as I told you, even if we don't declare this one, Java already does it for us. So Java already creates this constructor. So, and then if we create a constructor, so now we see that we can create a constructor with parameter or something. So let's say public person, and then let's say we enter a string as a parameter, name, and then an integer, age. Okay, so this constructor wants a string name and an integer age. Okay, and then if we see here, now we got an error here. Why do we get this error? Because this one says we don't have a default constructor. Why? Because when we create a constructor here, now this class doesn't have a default constructor. If we don't have any constructors, we know that this class has the default constructor, a constructor with no parameter. So if we want one constructor with no parameters and one with parameters, we can say, okay, let's have another constructor, public person. And then now we have one constructor with no parameters and one constructor with two parameters, which is one is a string and one is an integer. Let's just make sure that, okay. And then here, in this case, we say that we are using the constructor with no parameters. So we're using this constructor here, okay? Why do we use constructors? We use constructor to generally, the main purpose of it is to instantiate the class variables, okay? So here we have a class variable name, and then we want this name to have a value when we create the class, okay? So can we say name, name equals name? So what does this one mean? This means, since we have name here and name here, they are the same. This is a parameter for this method, which is the constructor with two parameters. Okay. Oops. Sorry. Okay. So this one hides the name, which is the class variable. So if we want to see, if we want to assign the value to this class variable, we cannot see name here, because if we click name here, you see we mean this name. So if we say this dot name, we're telling Java that I mean the class variable name. So there are two ways of doing it. You can have different names. Generally, programmers, they just use something like this. So we say, okay, this is the variable of the class. And then, so this, now here we don't need to use this because they're not the same. Okay, so we have name with underscore, which is the class variable, and name with no underscore, which is the parameter that comes to the constructor. Okay, so but if the name is the same, in this case for the age, we cannot say age equals age, because in both cases age is the same, is this variable here, okay, is this parameter that comes to the constructor. So in this case we have to say this dot age to tell that I want to assign this value to the variable of the class. Okay, so that's why if we say name here, and here we have to say this dot name. So that's one of the ways. You can just give a different name on the parameter, and then you don't need to use this. Okay, okay, so let me delete this one. So when we create an object with the constructor here, we are creating an object which has two variables. Okay, let me go to this screen. A name, string, name, and also integer age. Okay, so we can also have other variables and methods there, but just to make it simple, we have only a name and an age. Okay, so when we create a class, we're saying that when we create an object of this class, okay, so we're saying that this object will have a name and an age. So from here, from this class, the person demo class, we say we'll create an object and we'll name it P. Okay, so this is the name of the variable P. Okay, so this one will have an object which has a name and age. Okay, and then this from outside we'll call this one as P. Okay, whenever we want to talk about this object, we'll say P. Okay, and then here, okay, let me also see if there are any questions there or something. Okay, okay, and then here we can access the variables of the object P by saying P dot age equals, let's say 10 years old, and P dot name equals John. Okay, so we're saying that the object that is created is we're using the default constructor, so we're not doing anything there. We're just creating the object, and then the values will be the default value. So name before writing anything here. Let me also comment this one. Okay, and then we say, okay, what is the age for this object P dot age? It's 0, right? Because whenever we create an object and we don't assign any value, the age will be the default value. The default value for an integer is 0. The default value for a boolean is false. The default value for the string is null, right? So let's say, what is the name of this object that we created? And then let's print this one. And then you see that the age is 0 and the name is null because we use the default constructor here. Okay, and then from outside here I can say, okay, I want the name to be John and the age to be 10. Okay, so if we print these statements after this one, and then we'll see that the age is 10 and the name is John for these variables of this object. Okay. So the other constructor, which is a constructor which has two parameters, a name and an age. So when we create another object here, we can use not the default constructor with no parameters, but let's create another object and say new person. And then I want to give the name when I create it. Let me give a name, Tom. And the second name, can I give it an integer as a second parameter? So I cannot hear any answers, but I'll just answer myself. Okay, so we cannot enter integer because this constructor, which is also a special method, this has two parameters. The first one is a string and the second one is an integer. So it needs an integer, the age of the person. Okay, so let me give an age 20. Okay, now you see there is no errors because we use the correct syntax. Okay, and they say person 1, let me just print these values for this person here, for this second object. Okay, p1.age and p1.name. Okay, let me just comment out this ones here. Okay, and this one here. So when we run, automatically the object is created with the values that you gave here in the constructor. Okay, so Tom is the name and the age is 20. Okay, so when we access this object from outside, we access this with P1 in this case. Okay, so we say, okay, the object that I'm referring, so in this case, this one, the object which is a name, I give the name Tom and the age is 10. Okay, but what if I want to access these variables from inside the class? So when I'm inside the class, let me also, sorry. Okay, So from inside the class, that's what we mean. Okay, when I want to access this variable here, I say this name. So I'm accessing, so when I access from outside, I say p1 dot name. But when I'm inside the box, I say this dot name. And I mean the same thing. This dot name, I mean this variable. P1 dot name, I mean this variable. So this is when I access from outside. This is when I access from inside. Okay. So that's this keyword. Okay. So also let's add another variable. Let's say int weight. Okay. So the person I'm telling here, this person, which is a class, this class will have a name, an age, and a weight. Okay. So if I use this constructor, the weight, of course, will be 0, right? So here, if I say, okay, let me print the weight. Sorry. Okay, p1 dot weight, and then this will be 0 because I didn't give any value to it. So I can either give the value like this, p1. So I gave the name and the age in the constructor, but I want to initialize the weight from here. So weight is equal to 160 pounds, let's say. Okay, I'm not using kilograms, this is in pounds. Okay, and then when I print this one, and you see here the value of weight is set from outside. Okay. But also, if I want, when I create the construct, when I create the class, the object, when I initialize the object of this class from here, and I want to also assign the weight, I say, okay, let me give a third parameter, which is weight, and then, or let me just do it W. Okay, and then we can say, okay, weight is equal to W. So whatever comes here goes to weight. In this case, I didn't use this. Why? Because the parameter here is W, so it's different from weight. So this one will not hide weight. In this case, since age is the same with this one here, so I'll have to specify this dot age for the class variable. In this case, since they are different, I can also use this dot weight. That's the same thing. But I don't need to say it because since they are different. Okay. In this case, I have to specify this dot weight. Okay. And then from outside, we can create another object here. Let's say person. Or let me also show you something. Here you can see I use this variable p1 of type person, and then I created an object and also I assigned the value here, and then I printed everything here. But I want to use the same variable for another object. Okay, so I can use p1 equals new person, and then let's say Tim 22, and then the weight is 140. So let me just comment out these 3 lines here, or let me get these lines from here below here. So let me also see the channel. What is your answer? Okay, so what will, if I run this code, what will the console show here? So we, oops, okay, so since this one uses sensor, okay, so why this one doesn't use Tom? Why doesn't this console show Tom 20 and 160, but you're saying that it will show Team 22 and 140? Okay, so because we create a new object and we assign the value of this object to the same variable that was here. So we're overwriting, let's say, this variable. Okay, we are reassigning value. So we assign, creating a new object, and then just, so what happens there? Let me make it simple. So in Java, we say, okay, we have a person, a class person, okay, P1, okay, and then we created an object and gave the values Tom. Let me see what I wrote there. So Tom 20 and 100. So age is, name is Tom, age is 20, and the weight is 160, right? Yeah, okay. So there is, Java will just open a space for me and put these values there, okay? And then when I reassign a new object, so I'm creating a new object and I'm assigning at the same place. So you cannot, like even in Excel, like in Excel, when you have cells in Excel, and then you write something here, and then if you write something else here, so this one will be reassigned. So this one will have a new value, okay? So this cell here now has a new value. The same with the objects in Java. So there's a space here which is of type person. So now, again, it will have a name, an age, and a weight, but the values will be the new values, which are Tim 22 and 140, whatever are the new values. Okay. Okay. So I don't need to create a new object every time. I can use the same object and reassign the value there. Okay. Yes, so that's why we use the constructor, if I got the question right. So that's why we use the constructor here. In the constructor, say, okay, whenever you create the object of this class or the instance of this class, we want the values to be assigned to the values of this class, okay? To the variables of this class. Yes, it will be created. The second object will have the, I mean, it will be assigned to the same variable, okay? And then the first object will go. Okay. So let's say we also have, because what do classes have? Classes have variables and methods, okay? So also constructors are special methods, but also this class will have some methods. Let's say public, and then as you can see, the constructor doesn't have any return type. So you cannot say public void person or public, because then it will not be a constructor, but it will be just a method there. But for other methods, we have to use a return type. So if we don't return anything, we just say void, okay? So it means that this method will run, all the statements will be executed there, and then will return nothing, okay? So public void, and then what does a person do? A person sleeps, right? Sleep. And then we can say sleeping. Okay, so this is a method of this class. And then let's have another method, public void display info. Okay, so this method will take no parameters, you see, no parameters here, and will return nothing. We'll just execute some statements and will return nothing. Okay, if we say here return string, so this method will have to return something to us. Okay, so this will say, you have to say here return. Can we say just, okay, let me ask a quick question. Can we say return 3 here? What do you think? No, why? Because the type that we return here, which is a string, should be the same as this return here. Okay. So we are saying here in this method, we're saying that, okay, I'll execute something, I'll do something here, just print something, do something else, and then I will return a string. I cannot return an integer. See, there's an error here, but I can return 3 in this way. Yes, of course, because now this is a string. Okay, so this type here should match with this return type here. Okay, so there should be the same. Okay, so if we say void, we mean that everything will be executed and we don't need to return anything. You can either say return. Yes, we can say return, which means after you're done, you return, but you also don't need to say it because it will already return after it's done. Okay, so even if we write return here, it will work the same thing. Okay, so let's print the info. If you're a person, then you'll have, okay, so I am a person. My name is, and then we want this name to be displayed here. Okay, so we can say name or this name. That's the same thing. Since we are inside the class, we can say name here because we can see the name from this class. Okay, and also we can say this dot name, which means the name variable of this class. Okay, in this case, we don't need to use this, but if we have here a parameter, which is a local variable, so string name, let's say this method requires a string name. So in this case, if we say my name is name, this one value here will be printed the value that is coming through the parameter, okay? Not the value of this variable here, but the value of this parameter here, okay? So that's why if we have a variable like this, since this one will hide the value of the class, if we want the value of the class, we'll have to state this dot name. Okay, so here we say, okay, I don't want to display the name that is coming here, but I want to display the name, which is the class name. Okay, so if these things are repeating and then you're bored, I'm sorry for some of you that already know them, but I have to go slowly so that everyone gets it. Okay, and then we have a good repeat, and then we'll go maybe faster at the end. Okay, so here, let's say this class, this method doesn't need any parameter. Okay, so we're saying, okay, let me just make this dot name, saying that the class is parameter, and then plus, okay, and then my also, let's say, also display and age, and my age is age, or this dot age. You see, I've done in different ways so that we have that for reference. Okay, so from here we say, okay, this is an object. I can access all the variables of this object, but also I can access the method. So we're saying p1 dot display info. So what I'm saying, whatever is inside this method will be executed. Okay, so if there are like multiple steps here, all of them will be executed one by one, and then it will go out, and then it will continue here. So let me check for the channel if there are any questions there. Okay, everything is all right. So let me run this code. If I run, I don't need now to print everything, print the name, print the weight, because these are already in this display info method, which is my name. I'm a person, my name is name, and then age, and then plus. Sorry, this is a sensor light, and then it turns off. Okay, and then let me go down, and then weight. My weight is, and then weight. Okay. Okay, so from here, let me save this one. And I always suggest you to use Command Shift F for Mac. I'm using a Mac. I know it's Command Shift F, and probably for Windows it's Control Shift F. This always formats your code. Okay, so if your code is like this, of course it will do the same thing, but it's not readable. So if you say Command Shift F, you already know it, but I'm just repeating it, and then the code is formatted, and then it's more readable. It's easier for us to read. So I'll do it multiple times. I like formatting the code like every time I write something, every time I type something. Okay, so I am a person. Now I'm displaying the info. I'm a person. My name is Tim. My age is 22, and then my weight is 140. So whatever we gave to the class, we can display the info of that one. Okay. Okay. So let's go a little bit deeper now. Okay. Let's also have so to use the super keyword, we need to have inheritance, right? We need to have a parent class or a super class and the child class or a subclass. Okay, so how we do it? Let's say we have a new class here. Okay, let me create a new class and say this is student. Okay, and then this student class will extend the person class. Okay, so here we're saying, so now we're going to a new topic, which is inheritance. Okay, so let me draw here and hope that you can see the screen. Okay, let me use blue pen this time, which is more beautiful than black. Okay, so we're saying a person class has a name, age, okay, string name, int age, and then an integer weight. Okay, and then we're saying that this class here, which is a person, which is a student, this class extends person. Okay, extends. Okay, so whatever we have on parent class, we also have on student class. So now we can say that student also have a name, an age, a weight. Also the methods here, let me also write the methods here. Okay, which is sleep. Okay, let me just split the variables and the methods. Okay, sleep is a method, and also display info is a method. Okay, so whatever is here, also this class has them. Okay, so let's check it if it really has it or not. And in the meantime, I'll also check. Yes, so there's a question. You can, I don't know what you mean by ethic, but yes, you can. Oh, my screen is black. I think I can see myself, but okay, sorry if you cannot see it. Are other people seeing my screen or only? Yes means you're seeing my screen, right? So you see everything. Okay. Oh, now I went to a different screen. Okay. So inside, this is just a question here. So inside this constructor, you can also call the method here. Yeah, of course, you can say sleep, and then it means that whenever we create this object, we also call the sleep method. Okay. So you can, yes, you can use the method. Is it ethic? I don't know what you mean by ethic, but of course you can call the methods. And also, again, you can also say this dot sleep, which means I'm calling sleep method of this class. Okay. So if you want to specify, you can specify, but you don't need to because you already have only one sleep method in this class. Okay. But if there are other things you just want to make sure, then you have to use this dot sleep. Okay. Yes, you can call the methods within the constructor. So now student class, we're saying extends person class. Okay, so here, okay, let me just okay. So can we do the same things with the student? Yes, of course. Student S1 equals new student. Okay, so we can call any constructor here. We can call a constructor with no parameter, because the parent of this student, the parent of this one, has this one, has this one. Oh, sorry, that's not okay. Sorry, that was my mistake. Okay, let's just go through it. So here we can create an object with the default no parameters. Okay, let me ask you, what do you think? Can we call here a constructor with parameters? What do you think? So you can answer, even if it's right or wrong, doesn't matter. Just type something there, and then let's test all together. So overloading, I don't know what do you mean by overloading. Can we or not? Okay. So some of people, they say we can, some say cannot. Okay, let's try. Okay, so we're saying student, and then let me just give the same as here. Okay, so I want to call student with a string name, with an integer age, and with an integer weight. As you can see, it doesn't work. Why? Because we don't have such constructor here. So constructors are not inherited. Okay, so just please, I don't know, you can take a note or something. So constructors are not inherited from the parent class. What do we mean by that? Yes, of course we have a default constructor with no parameters, because every class, so let me just save this one, because every class has a default constructor, which is this one, public, and then student, and then, so yes, this class, even if we don't write this one, this class already has a default constructor with no parameters, but this class doesn't have these other constructors, okay, with name and age, or name, age, and weight. Okay, so if we want such a constructor, we can create one here. Okay, so let's say I want a constructor public, and then you can test yourself later. Public student, and then string name, and then int age. Okay, and then also let me just also add int weight. Okay, so I'm creating a constructor with a string name and two integers, the age and the weight. So now here, as you can see in this one, person demo, now I can call this constructor. Okay, if I on Mac is command, and then if I move the mouse here, so you can go to the declaration. Okay, there are other ways, but with command, and then if you move the mouse here, then you go to the declaration. So you see, I'm using this constructor, okay, with a name, age, and the weight. So now this class also have a constructor with 3 parameters. Okay, so let's okay, somebody's okay. So I'll go through it again and again, and it's really easier when there are students in the class, because I can see in their eyes if they get it or not. But oops, again. But online is really difficult, because I need feedback from the class, and it's difficult. So probably next week I'll have him there and make sure that he gives me the feedback live. Okay, so here. Let me just again display the info here. Okay, so S1, which is the student object, the student variable. Okay, S1 dot display info. As you can see here, yes, this object has a display info method. Why? because this method is the same as the variables. You see the variables here, name, age, weight, and then the methods sleep and display info are inherited in this class because this one extends person. But just let's make sure that the constructors are not inherited, okay? Okay, so let me just comment out this one and then just let's run this class, okay? So I'm a person and my name is, oops, why did this one happen? Because we didn't, sorry, because we didn't assign the values, okay? You can see here, we said, okay, this is the name, this is the age, but did we assign this name to any variable? No. So we have to say, can we say name is equal to name? No. Why? Because this is the same. We're just pointing to the same variable. This is the parameter. So I can say, can I say this dot name or should I say super dot name? What do you think? Let me see some answers here. So super, 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 super. Nobody says this, right? So you say that I cannot use this. Is there anybody that thinks that I can use this? Okay, so yeah, there are some people say that. So since, okay, thanks, Frank Avi. So since this variable here is in the person class and this student class extends the person class, so I can use this dot name and I can use super dot name. Both of them are the same thing because this variable here is a variable of this class and this variable here is a variable of this class. Why? Because student extends person. Okay, you can test and let's see if it works. Okay, so this dot, let's test it. And this dot age, okay, equals to age, and then this dot weight equals weight. Okay, so let's see if this one works. Okay, let me save this one, and then let's run this code here. Oh, you see, this one worked. Why? Because as I told you, we can say this because this variable here is a variable of this class and this variable here is a variable also of this class. Okay, okay, no problem. Everybody has their, I mean, there's no right or wrong. You can just answer and then we can check all together. Sometimes also I do mistakes. Okay, so please don't put this sign to your friend, to their friend comment. Okay. Okay, so and also let me overwrite. So we also doing polymorphism. So one way of polymorphism, I know that these are like a multiple topics at once, but just let's go slowly. Okay, so public, okay, what method did we have in person class? We had a sleep method, right? So also I want to have a sleep method on student. Okay, so public void sleep, and then let's say, okay, let's print something else here. Okay, and let's say student sleeps in class. Okay, okay, so as you can see, the sign here means that this method here is overwriting the method in its parent. So if I click here, it goes to the parent, and then you can see it was sleeping, but for this object here, now we have something else. So not sleeping, but this comment will be printed out in the comments, okay, in the console. Okay, and then let's test it. Oh no, so let me have another, let also overwrite public, oops, sorry, public void, and then display info. Okay, I don't want to mistype it. Okay, so also this one is overwriting the parents method. Okay, if I say display info 2, even if I say display info and display info 2, so this is a new method. So this class here, student, now has a sleep method, display info method, and display info2 method. Okay, so this is a new method. If I say display info, then I'm overwriting, and then you can see the sign here. So I'm overwriting the parents method. Okay, this is the parent, which is a person, and then the student is also a person and has a display info, but I'm overwriting it. Okay, and also sometimes you see the annotation here, overwrite. Okay, so it means that this method is overwriting the method in the parent class. Okay, so if I say like this, so I'm supposed to overwrite, that's what it means. I'm supposed to overwrite the parent method, but since this one is not overwriting anything because this is a new method, a different one, so that's why it gives an error. So if you're overwriting, you should have the same method in the parent. Okay, so that's why sometimes this annotation here makes sure that you don't mistype. Let's say you forgot to type info or something, so you don't mistype. So if you say info, then everything is all right. Okay, you're overwriting display info from the parent. Okay, so this annotations sometimes help you make sure that you have written the correct code. Okay, so let's say in the parent we say I'm a person, my name is and age this one, but in the student, okay, in the student we say something different to make sure that we are overriding it. Okay, and then we say I'm a student. Oops, I am a student. And then, and also, so if you just say this one, okay, and then if we run this code, and if you see now this one is just displaying I am a student. Why? Because this method is overwritten. So we're not now running this method from here, but we're running the new method, which is this one, which is overwriting. If we also want to display the info in the parent class, how can we call it? So we can say super dot display info. Okay, so what does this one mean here? We're saying, okay, I want to run the display info of my parent class, of my super class. Okay, and then also write something here. Okay, so if I run this code here, what's happening? So I'm saying I'm a person, so it's running the method in the superclass. I am a person, my name is Tim, and my age is 22, and weight is 140, so whatever the information is given here. But also I'm writing something else here. So this, I'm also saying I'm a student. Okay, that's why I have two lines here. So one, if I say, what do you guys think if I say this dot display info here? What if I run the code? What will happen? What do you think? So you're saying that if I run this one, then just I am a student will run, right? I think that something else will happen. Let's just try. I think that this method will call itself multiple times, so this will have an error. Okay, why? Okay, you see an error happened. Why? Because this, okay, what will happen? Okay, let me go step by step. Okay, so here I created the object. Okay, everybody's okay, and now I'm running display info of this object. So I'm running this method. So this method says also call myself. Okay, so we'll call myself. When I call myself and then start running, then this one will also call myself. So this will call the same method multiple times, endless. Okay, so that's why, since it's calling itself multiple times, Java run gives a Stack Overflow error. Okay, sorry for the light. Okay, so Java says that you're just running the same method. It's called recursive. Okay, maybe you've heard this term, recursive. So calling the same method again and again and again, and then you have to break it somewhere. So since it never breaks, and then the memory will be full. Okay, so but if I say super dot display info, so I'm saying, okay, before I write this one, I called super dot display info. So I'm calling my parent display info method, okay, just this line. And then I'm running also another thing here, which is I'm a student, okay? So this where super can be used, okay? Super keyword. Okay, let me see if there are any comments there. Yes, somebody says it goes infinite. Yes, it does go infinite. Okay, you can debug it. We can also do it now. Let's debug it. Okay, to make sure that. Okay, so okay, let's go step by step. The object is created, and then let's go inside. Oh, I deleted it. Just okay. Let me just go back. Put this one here. Okay, and then not super, but this, right? So what's happening here? Let me debug the code. Okay. So the object is created. Okay. And then let's go inside. What will happen in this method? Okay. So we go here. Okay. So the first step is to call myself. Okay. Let me call myself. And then I come here. And then the first step is to call myself. And then again, call myself again. And then it's just calling myself infinite time. Okay. What if I put this one in front of this one? So first it will type something and it will call myself. Again, the same thing will happen, but this okay, so sorry if somebody's calling. Okay, so this one will be printed first and then it will call itself. Okay, so the same thing, it will call itself multiple times, but every time first this one will be printed, and then if you see first multiple times is printed, you see, and then Java gives a stack overflow. Okay, very good. So we don't want to call ourselves this way because this will call multiple times. So I'm a student, and then let's say here we just say only our name. Okay. Sorry. My name is, and then name. Okay. So if I'm a student, I just print my name. Okay. And then if we run the code, yes, here from the demo. So yes, I'm a student. My name is Tim. Okay. I just printed the name. And then let's say, okay, first the student, it already inherits all the variables and the methods of the parent, but not the constructors, okay? But also this one has an extra one because yes, you're a student, you're a person, you have a name, you have age, you have a weight, but also you have a student number, right? So let's say string and then student number. Okay. So I'm saying that a person, a student will have all the variables that the person have, but extra another field, another variable, which is the student number. Okay, so you either can set the value here and say s1 dot student number, since it is public here, okay, or let's say the default one, which is we can access it from other classes. But if I say private, I will not be able to access from here, right? So student number equals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And as you can see here, I cannot assign a value to this number. Why? Because the visibility is not, I mean, I cannot see this one from here. I can only see, let me just save this things. Okay. I can see this variable only inside the class because it's a private variable. So either I can do public, and then it can be seen from outside. So you see now there's no error, or I can just leave the default. Also, this one means that it can be seen from anywhere within the package. Okay, so we are in the review package, review one package. Every class here can see the default. When the access modifier is default, it means that this one here can see it. Okay, and then in the display info, I will also display my number, right? My name is name, and then my number, because student has something else. My number is, and then let me print the number, student number, sorry. student number. Okay, so here I save this one and then run the code, and then I'm a student and print my name and also my number is 1, 2, 3. Does person class has a number? What do you think? I know most of you know that answer, but just let me know. I'm just checking in live questions. Most of you know it, but just if a couple of you just types yes or no, it's enough. Okay, so you're writing. Okay. So okay. So this question, Mr. Ismail is saying that is private method join inheritance? I think he means that. So let's say we have a private method. This method is private here. Okay, sleep is private. Okay, well, let me make another. Okay. Okay. Yes, I'll give you a task now. Okay, let me have a private method. Private. Okay, and then say here eat. Right, a person also eats. Void eat. Okay, so can you try? Do you think this class here has the eat method? So this method here is a private method. So we're talking about access modifiers here. So everybody says no. Okay. So if it's private, this cannot be seen through inheritance. Okay. So this is not accessed through the child of this class, but if it is public, yes, it can be. If it's the default, yes, it can be seen and also protected. Okay. So also, if it's protected, it can be seen through inheritance, okay? Because protected means that if you check the access modifiers, so if it's protected, can I call it from here? That's okay. Let's just do this task, okay? Just let's write something here. I know now I switched to something else. So let's say eating, right? Eating. Okay. And then here, do you think I can access eating from here? If it is protected? Yes. Okay. So let's say eat, save, and then try to display the info. You see also eating is accessed from here. What about from here? Do you think I can access eat method from here? So if I say s1.eat, do you think it will be seen from here? Yes, no, yes, no. Okay, so most of you say yes. Okay, let's check it. Okay, eat and then try to run. Yes, it can be also accessed from here. Okay, so it can be accessed from the inherited class and also from the same package. But the thing is, this is a little bit complicated. So if this class is in a different package, here, let's say we have a new package here. Okay, next week we'll have com.java.review. Oops. Review 2. Okay. And then if this student class is here, okay, it still can see eat method from here because it is inherited. But if this class is here. Okay, it's a little bit quick. S1 dot eat, and as you can see, cannot see. Why? Because if the method is protected, it can be seen within the same package from everywhere, but it cannot be seen in the other packages unless the class there is inheriting. So if this class is inheriting this person, so it means that yes, I can access it because it is protected. But as you can see here, I cannot see name. Why I cannot access name here? Because these variables here, this is a little bit tricky, but these variables here, this is the default, which means can be seen only within the same package, only within this package here, but not in the other packages. But if I say protected here, protected, okay, it means that it can be seen from within the package and also in a different package if that class is is inheriting. Okay, so this is so if I do this way, and then you see now, yes, I can access the name, the age, and the weight, even though I'm in a different package. Why? Because I'm inheriting. So if I'm inheriting, I can access even though if I'm in different package. But this needs to be protected. So the other one, this one cannot be seen. Why? Because this person demo is not extending the person class. Okay, so that's the difference. Yeah, so let's give a 5 minutes break. You can try to write something yourself, okay, or try these things in different packages and everything. I'll put them in the same package for now, and then let me give a 5 minutes break so I can drink some water and then continue. So now it is 8:05. So in 8:15 we'll continue where we left. Okay, so here I'm just opening these two classes so you can see, and then you can add something there. Okay, so let me give you a task, okay, and also I'll do it myself with you after the break. Let me give okay, I'm sorry I changed this one because this is my first online session. So let me give you a task, okay. Okay, so we have the student, okay, the student class which inherits the parent class, okay, the person class, and we also added one extra, which is student number, right? So I want you to create another class which is a subclass of the person class. Okay, I'll draw it in the screen here. Okay, so this is the second one. Let me see if I can. Okay, let me see my. Okay, now I see my. So a second one. This class will be teacher. So teacher class is a child of person class. It has all the fields and methods that this class has, but let me add another extra variable, which is salary, right? Integer salary. So I'm saying that the teacher class will have an extra variable, which is salary, and also an extra method, which is teach. Okay, so public static, public void, and then teach. Okay, and then inside this method, you'll just write teacher is teaching or something like that. Okay, a comma. Okay, now let me give you 8 minutes for this one. So now it's showing 8:12. Okay, so at 8:20 I'll come back and then try to type this one myself. Okay, so try to implement this one. Try to write a class, teacher class, which extends person class and has a salary and another extra method. Okay. Okay. I'm back. So I called a couple of students. They see that, I mean, since I'm here in New Jersey, I have their Slack and the information. So they say that they can see it, but still, if there's anybody who cannot see the screen, just let me know and then we'll try something else, okay? So let's continue where we left. So I hope you have done it. Let's do it together. So let's say we're gonna have, so that's the thing about inheritance, okay? So we have multiple classes which inherit the same class, okay? So let me have another one here, okay, another class, and say teacher, okay? So this class also extends person class, okay? So again, teacher, okay, let me also open my phone and try to see in Slack if there are any questions or something. Okay, everything is okay till now. Thank you, Eze. So, so as you said, teacher class now has everything that person class have, okay? So, so what does the person class have? Has the name, the age, the weight, and this methods, okay? So since this one is protected, so also this class has it. If this one is private, then even if it's inherited, this class and student class will not have eat method and will not see eat method, okay? So that's what it means, okay? So just let me put back to protected. Okay, so let me do a tricky thing for you, okay? So let me have a constructor here, okay? As I told you earlier, only the variables and the methods are inherited, not the constructors, okay? So let me add, before adding these two variables, let me just do something tricky, okay? So let's say public teacher, and then I am creating a constructor here with 4 parameters, okay? So this one will have, let me copy from this one, okay? So age, weight, everything from the parent, okay? Everything from the parent. And also, let me add salary here, salary. So this class has an extra variable, which is salary. So we can accept another extra variable, which is salary. And then say, okay, this dot salary, which you mean the class variable, is equal to the value that is coming from the parameter, okay? Salary. Okay, so we have this extra constructor, okay? So here, what do you think? Okay, let me see your answers. Can I create an object with an empty constructor here saying teacher T1 equals new teacher? Somebody says no. Okay, and then let's explain why yes and why no, okay? So this one, as you can see, we cannot create, we cannot instantiate this object with an empty constructor. Why? Because now that we created a constructor here with 4 parameters, we deleted the empty constructor, the default constructor. So there was a default constructor. If you comment out this one, yes, there is a default constructor which we can use, okay? But if we create a constructor with parameters, now we don't have any constructor with no parameters, okay? So can we add one? Yes, we can. Public teacher, and then empty constructor. I mean constructor with no parameters, okay? And then if I save it, yes, I can use this one, the default constructor. So if I click command and then click on this one, And then as you can see, this one is calling this constructor. Okay. Okay, so we added another variable, which is salary, and also let's add the new method, which is public, capital, public void. Okay, I'm using void methods. We can use methods with a return type, which is a string, and then as we said, if we say return, which is if we say string here, so this method will return a string, should return a string. Okay, so void. Yes, if it's a question, this one is it? Oh, it looks like it's not a question. So if it's a question, let me answer. Is our responsibility to create a default constructor when we create a parameterized? So we have a constructor with parameters. Okay. Do we also have to create a default constructor, a constructor with no parameters? If we need it, yes. If we don't, if we're not going to use it, we don't need to create one. But if we'll use it, yes, we'll have to create one. Okay. Public void and then teach. Okay, so the teacher is teaching, and then let's just type something there, and then teaching. Okay, so again here in the demo, so we can use this method, this constructor with no parameters, or we can use a constructor with how many parameters? So control space in Mac, I don't know what is in Windows, so it shows, so if I come here, it shows the constructor. So I want the constructor with the name, age, this one. Okay, so name, so Donald, okay, a teacher name, and then age is 50, is a professor at university, his weight is 240 pounds, and then the salary is 50,000. Okay, it's not the Donald you're thinking, is another Donald. Okay, it's just a simple teacher. Okay, and then what methods does this one have? T1 dot, it has all these variables because they are they can be seen from here. Okay, and also have display info, sleep, and teach method. Okay, so I can say sleep and then T1 dot teach. Okay, so this one, does student teach? No, S1 dot teach. I don't have such a method in student class. So the inheritance, just let me explain to you. So the inheritance is just done from the parent class to the child class, not to the siblings. Okay, so whatever is here in the parent class is in every child, but there is no relation between the siblings. Okay, so whatever is here is not in the other sibling, but whatever is in the parent is also in the child. Okay, so let me just comment out this one here again. Okay, just let me remove this breakpoint. Save, and then as always, I like formatting. Save and then run. Okay, so I created. Let me put this one down here. Sorry. Okay. So the teacher is teaching and sleeping. We don't need this one. We just need to display info. Okay. So display info. What will display it for now? And just also let me remove, or let me leave it teaching. Okay. So in the parent, do we have any display info here? No. But since we have in the parent class, so the same thing that is here is also in the child class. Okay. So if I run this one and say I'm a person, my name is, okay, again we forgot to initialize. So we can say super dot name equals name. This is one way of doing it. Okay, so we're saying the parent class. The second one is this dot name, okay? And let me, oh, sorry for the light. And let me also tell you something, okay? So I can call before initializing. I don't need to initialize all this value because I'll say, okay, this dot name, this dot age equals to age. I can do it, yes I can. And then this dot weight, okay, equals to weight, which means all these values will pass from the parameter to the class variable. But I have done this one here in the person class, okay? So in the person class, I have already assigned these variables here. So I can use the parent constructor, super, and then I pass this constructor, I pass these parameters to the constructor. So name, age, and weight. Okay, so what does this mean? This means that I want to call the parent constructor, super here. So if I click and go there here, so the variables of the class will be assigned from the parameters. Okay, so whatever is coming in the parameter will go here. So what happens? Let me go step back. And then so let's debug if you want to. So we come here, let's go inside. So, oops, I want to go in the teacher, not here. So let me go here. Okay. So here I'm saying before setting the salary, I want to call my parent constructor with 3 parameters, name, age, and weight. It will call this constructor here. Okay. So what will happen? Let me stop it here. Okay. So from here where we left. So now we have name, age, and weight. We're passing them to the parent constructor. So let me go there. Here in the parent constructor. So the values come here. Name is Donald, 50, and then the weight is 240. So I'm setting these values to the class variables. Okay. So let me go step by step. So I'm saying, okay, the name is Donald, the age is 50, and the weight is 240. So after we're done, we come back here. So we set the values for this class, for the teacher class, and then now we're setting the salary, okay, whatever is left. So and then let's continue and see what's happening. I'm a person. My name is Donald. So I set the name, the age, and the weight, and then the salary, which doesn't show here. Okay. Okay, so normally if I don't type this one, Java is already doing this one for me, super. Okay, so it's calling the default way this one behaves before running any step here in the teacher constructor. It calls super constructor. It calls the default constructor with no parameters in the parent class. Okay, so here it calls. Okay, let me save because if I don't save, it goes to the wrong one. Okay, so it calls this constructor and then continues. Okay, and then I can do whatever I want, this age, this, but I don't want to call the default constructor. Okay, so this one is already done by Java. I don't want to call the default constructor. I want to call this constructor. Okay, so I'm calling a different constructor, the constructor with 3 parameters. So a tricky question. If I just don't do this one, okay, I comment out, so I'm just setting the salary, and then if here I comment out this constructor, what does it mean? So this class, person class, doesn't have a constructor with no parameters. Okay, only has a constructor with 2 parameters and a constructor with 3 parameters. So these are overloaded constructors, but we commented out the constructor with no parameter. So what will happen here? Why this one is giving me an error? So let me just also comment out this one. Why this one is giving me an error? Because by default, this one is calling super constructor with no parameters. It's calling this one. And then as you can see, there is no person, which is the parent class. There is no constructor with no parameters. because we commented out, so we cannot call this from here. Okay, so can I call another constructor here? Yes, I can call the other constructor, the constructor with 3 parameters, and now everything will work fine for this class. But here we have an error. Why? Okay, let me comment out this one, because this one is doing the same. Student class, before starting these things here, student class here is calling super constructor with no parameters, and since there is no parent constructor with no parameters, this is giving us an error. Okay, because as you can see here, it says that, okay, let me see here what it says. The constructor is undefined. You see, the constructor person with no parameters is undefined, so there is no default constructor here. So either we can call another constructor, call a constructor with 3 parameters, name, age, and weight. Okay, I can either call this one, or if I do not want to call any super constructor, just call the default constructor. So I'll need to have a default constructor here. Okay, so I need to have this one. Is there any questions? Did you all get it? Okay, so there are people typing. Let's see the answers and continue. Okay, so most of you saying that everything is clear. Okay, so here I was here in the teacher class. So in the teacher class, I'm not calling the default parent constructor, but I'm calling the parent constructor with 3 parameters. So I don't want to set them one by one, because I already have such a method there. So I'm using that method. That's the beauty of inheritance. So if you have something in your parent, you just can use it. You don't need to redo it. Okay, retype it. Okay. So this one I'm just leaving here. So it means that we're not calling it. Okay. So now, and also here, I want to overwrite the parent display info class. Okay, because I'm a teacher. I don't want to say I'm a person and my name is Donald. I want to say I'm a teacher. Okay. So public void display info. Okay. So why here I don't see anything? So I'm not you see, I'm not overriding my parent because I misspelled it. So display info, now I see this sign here. Okay, so now I'm overriding display info of my parent. Okay, so here I say, sorry. Okay, and then I am a teacher. Let me see if somebody's. Okay, so we'll give a break, but not now, later. Somebody's suggesting me in 5 minutes, but I think let's give a break at 9. Okay, I am a teacher. And then my name is, and then the name. And also I have a salary. I don't want to display other info. I just want to display name and salary. Okay, my salary is, and then salary. Okay, and again here I can either use name, I can either use this dot name, I can either use super dot salary. Okay, but not super, because okay, I was gonna say the difference. So I can say super dot name, but I cannot say super dot salary. Why? Because this class has a name. Yes, I can use this name because this class has a name which is inherited from the parent. This class has a salary. Yes, I have here. This class has inherited this from the parent, so I can use super.name. Yes, I can use it because the name is in the super is in me, but I cannot use super.salary Why? Because my parent doesn't have my parent class, not my parent, but my parent class doesn't have a salary. I, as a class, teacher class, have a salary. Okay, so I can just leave it without this, with this, but I cannot use super here. Okay, sorry about the light. Okay, so now, as you can see again here, if I run this one, I'm a teacher, my name is Donald, my salary is 50,000. Okay, so whatever is here in this class, I've overwritten this one. I'm not typing this statement here, but just commenting this information. Okay, if I want whatever is in my parent class, I can say super dot display info, again, as we did in the student class. So I can call display info method of my parent. So this is display info of my parent, and if I save this one and run this one, as you can see, this statement is coming from my parent, the information, and this statement is coming from this class, from this method. So first, whatever is here is displayed, and then this one is displayed. Okay, let me comment out this one. We don't need it, just I'll leave it there for your reference. Okay, so you can type this one if you're able to, but if you cannot type, it's okay, because I'll put everything in Git, and then you'll be able to get that one by using Git pull. I've seen some students, they don't use Git, they just try to copy paste to put in the project. I suggest you to use Git pull to get the project. I mean, you clone the project, and then whenever is something added there, you just use Git pull to get new thing in the project. Okay, don't copy paste classes, because if there are changes there, then every time you have to find what changes were done there. Okay, so okay, let me see what else can we go through. Okay, another thing is we called the constructor parent constructor with 3 parameters, right? Here I have 2 constructors. Okay, actually 3 constructors, one with no parameters, one with 2 parameters, one with 3 parameters. So what are these special methods, constructors here? They are overloaded, right? They are overloaded. So we have the same method with the same name, the same method with the same name, but with different parameters. So in polymorphism, this is called overloading. Okay, so you have multiple methods, and you can call any of them. So from here, I can call person class here, person p2 whatever equals new person, and then here I have 3 options. I can call the person class with no parameters, I can call the person class with 2 parameters, and I can call person class with 3 parameters. Okay, yes, I can do it from outside. What about from inside? Can I do it? What do you think? Can I call the other constructors from here in the person class? Can I call okay, let me explain what I mean. So let's say I'm calling this constructor with no parameters. Okay, and then I want to put a default name. So if from demo here I'm calling, let me go back and let me comment out this one. Okay, if I'm calling the person class with no parameters, so I'm calling this one, and from here I want to call this other constructor. Okay, so I say this, and then I just put some default values, this, and then I say, okay, I want name to be John. I don't have other names. John, and then age to be 33, and then that's all. Okay, so I'm saying from here I'm calling the other constructor, I'm calling this constructor, so the name will be John, and then it will go to the class variable, and then the age will be 33, which will go to the class. So if I'm calling this constructor with no parameters, I want these default values to be set. So you can do it two ways. One way is to say name equals John, and then age equals 33. So this is one way. So I'm saying a default value for the name is John, and for the age is 33. And as you can see here, I can say name, or this dot name is the same thing. So I'm saying the class variable. But there's another way. I want to call this constructor with two parameters. Okay, so I don't need to do it this way. I can do this way. So I'm saying, okay, let's call this constructor with two parameters, a string and the name. And Java knows that I'm calling this constructor, not this one. If I put another integer here, 80, so I'm calling, if I click here, command, and then go, you see, as you can see, it goes to the other constructor. Okay, so I can call one constructor from another constructor. Okay, so the difference, so this is an interview question I think you have done many times. So the difference between this dot something, I mean variable of the class, this dot sleep, I mean the method of this class, and then this with some parameters or no parameters, but with parentheses, I mean the constructor. If I say this and then empty, I mean the empty constructor. If I say this with two parameters or three parameters, I mean the constructor with two or three parameters. Okay, so that's the difference between this and then this with the parameters, with the parentheses. So the same as we do here, I can call the superclass with no parameters, with n parameters, and I can do the same thing in the same class. I can say this with no parameters or with many parameters. Okay, so I can set default values, and then if I run the code, so I have to display the info, of course. So p2 dot display info. So I'm running display info method of the person class. Okay, so if I run this one, I'm a person, my name is John, my age is 33, my weight is 80. I didn't give any values here, but if I go inside here, then I call this constructor with three values. So why do we generally use this one? So as I told you here earlier, okay, let me also open the questions and see if there is any question. Yes, somebody's given feedback. The same thing for super. So super should be the first line of the constructor. So super with no or many parameters should be the first line. You cannot use this one after this line. No, you cannot do this one. This should be the first line. If you're going to use it, it should be the first line only here. And then even if you use this, and can you use two multiple? This was also a tricky question. Can we use two of them? No. No, because we only can run, since this is the first line, now this is the second line, so this one will create the object from the parent class, and this one also create the object from the parent class, so you cannot put two of them. That's why you can just put one of them, and this should be the first line. The same with this keyword. If you're going to use this keyword to access another constructor with no or many parameters, this keyword should be the first line. Okay, yes. So why do we generally use this keyword? Okay, let's say, as you can see here, I'm retyping, and then let's have another class here, public person, and then only with name. Okay, You see, Control-Shift-F, everything is formatted, okay? I suggest you to do this every time. So, and then here, let me do this dot name equals name, okay? So as you can see, I'm doing this dot name equals name, this dot name and age equals this one, and then this dot name and age and weight equals this one. You can see I'm repeating the same code. So in Java, we just say, okay, since I have a constructor, with 2 parameters, I can call this one, right? So I say this, and then I pass the name and the age, and then the weight is just assigned here. So here, when I call this, okay, let me just do the full demo, okay. Okay. So I will call this constructor with 3 parameters, and this one is calling the constructor with 2 parameters, and then here I'll call the constructor with 1 parameter. So say this name, and then this one is set. So I'm just setting the weight here. I don't need to set the age and name, because I'll set the age and name here. So if I go here, okay, here I just need to set the age, because name will be set it here, okay. And then just to track what we're doing, we also can debug it, but also we can do it here. So let me just write here. Let's see what's happening, okay. Constructor with 3 parameters, okay. Of course, this cannot be the first line. This can be the second or the third line, okay. So a constructor with 3 parameters, constructor with 2 parameters, and then constructor with 1 parameter, okay. So if I run this one, what will happen? So as you can see here, or let me just put this one before this line to understand better, because this way, oops. And then the same here. And then the same here. Okay. So if I run, it will be reverse. So here in the demo class, I'm calling person constructor with 3 parameters. So I'm going here, okay? And then from here, I'm calling the constructor with 2 parameters. So I'm going here. And then here, I'm calling the constructor with 1 parameter. So I'm going here. And then when I'm here, I'm just going to print this one, constructor with 1 parameters. And then the name is set. And then I come back here. When I come back here, I just write, okay, this is the constructor with 2 parameters. And then the age is set. And then I come back here. I return here. And then here, I just write constructor with 3 parameters. And then the weight. And then I go out and I come back here. And then I display the info, okay? So generally, that's why we use the constructor, this constructor, this with parentheses, which I mean, I'm calling the constructor with n number of parameters. For parent, if we want to call the parent, we say super. If we want to call the constructor in the same class, we use this, okay? Is there any questions or anything there? Okay. Let me see. They're suggesting me something. So, okay. They're asking me for the suggestion to stop here. I'm going to ask students' suggestion. What do you think? Should we continue or should we stop here? Are you tired for today, or just should I go a little bit more in OOPS concepts? Just give your feedback. If you're tired, let's just stop it here, and then so most of them they're not tired. You see, these are very good. They want more. Okay. Okay, so I'm going with okay, we're gonna give a break for 5 or 10 minutes, and then during the break you have learned okay, let me explain a little bit about what is encapsulation. So encapsulation is when we use getters and setters. Okay, so let me ask you let me ask you for to implement something. Okay, okay, so we'll have a employee class. Okay, I'm making this one big. Let me see myself here. Okay, I'll go to this screen to see myself. And then employee. And this class has, let's say, 3 variables. Okay, so social security. Okay, int, or let me make it string because you want to type different way in social. Okay, so string, social security number. Okay, and then employee name. Okay, so string, employee first name, and then string last name. And also age. Okay, always we have an age, right? Int age. But I want you to make all these fields private. Okay, all of them private. And then if we make them private, of course, if you want to access these fields from outside, we'll have to have the getters. Okay, getters and setters. Okay, getter and setter methods. Okay, so you'll have to write. You can either write it yourself or you can do it in Eclipse. So you can search in Google how to have the getter and setter methods in a class. Okay, so I'll give 10 minutes for this one until 9:10. So whoever wants to have a break and doesn't want to do this one, it's not a homework. I will not be able to check it. So you can either do this one, or some people can pray, some people can have a sandwich or something, and then we'll come back at 9:10. Okay. Thank you. Let me just go back to this. Okay, so I'm back. Did any of you do this one? Let's see the answer. Wow. So we have a good student. He already sent he's one of my students. He already sent the code, so I don't need to do it. Okay, you already have it there, so just go from there. Okay, just kidding, just kidding. Okay. So let's create a class, employee, new class, employee. Okay. So we're not using any inheritance or any other thing. We're just gonna use use the getters and setters, okay, which is encapsulation. So we said we'll have, what did it say? We'll have a social security string SSN, and then we have a first name string first name. Now I'm a little bit stressed because I feel like my student will do better than me, so sorry if he's better. Okay, last name int, and then we say employee age, right? Employee age, or we can say just age. But we said age there, but we can say employee age. Okay. Okay, so we can either just type them like public, and then so when we get, we're expecting to return, right? So string get SSN, okay, and then this will return the social security number, okay, or we can say return this dot social security. So we already learned those things. And then setter, when we set the value, okay, so public, let me see how many students are there now. Let me just check. Okay, so we're good. And then in when we set the value, we don't return anything, but we're giving something. Okay, so social security number, so we're giving a string. Okay, so string, and then say social security number. Okay, and then we say, we cannot say SSN equals SSN because they're the same thing. We can say this dot social security number is the value that we get from the parameter, but I suggest you to use it different. So generally, we programmers, we just say we use this notation. You don't have to. Generally, that's what we prefer. So we use this notation for private variables. Okay, generally. You don't have to. Let me just do it for social security number. Okay, so and then here you don't need to say this social security, just say this one. And since this one is different from this one, you can see you can set social security number with a dash. And then here, of course, you're gonna say this one because we renamed it. And as I told you, we're gonna say private, and the same thing here, private. Okay, so we can type them one by one, or Eclipse helps us, and then it says, okay, let me just refactor the code, and then use getters and setters. Okay, generate, so it will generate for us. And which one do you want? I already did social security, so I'll do the others. Okay, and then continue, and then as you can see, this already generated it for me. Okay, And then from outside, let's have an employee demo. Okay, another class, new class, and then employee demo with a main. I forgot to put the main, but we can do it here. Okay. And then here we'll create an object of employee class. Okay, so employee, and then say emp1 equals. So we're already initializing the variable with a new object. Okay, employee. Oops, I cannot type employee. Sorry. Employee. Okay. So how many constructors does this one have? No constructors. But how can I use this one? Yes, I can use this one because even this one doesn't have any constructor declared here. This one has the default empty constructor already there. Okay, so we know it. We already explained it. So did we set any values here? No, we just created an employee object with no values, with the default values. So let me just write a public. Let me write a method here. Public void. So I don't want to use void this time. I want to use a method with the return type. So public string, just to make it different, and then get info. Okay, not display info, but get info. So I'll get the information, and then here is a return. We can do it two ways. First, we can declare a variable string s, and then say first name equals first name plus last name equals last name. And again, we can use the same this dot last name, right? Last name and this dot last name is the same. And then we can say plus, plus. So I don't want to display social because social security should be hidden, let's say. And then let's say age, okay? Age equals, okay, some people say don't display my age, but let's just display it, okay? So this one, oh, sorry, this is not age, employee age, okay? Okay. So now we set the value to the string, and then I can return string. Return s, okay? So I created a string, and I'm returning. Since I'm not doing anything else with this string, I can just directly return this one here, okay? So I can say, okay, why do I create a string and then return it? I just return it directly without even creating. Why do I waste space, okay? But if I'm doing something else, so I can just return this one, okay? But if I'm doing something else, let's say I create the string and then I print the string, okay? So I create the string, I print the string, and then I return it. Yes, I have to declare a variable because I don't want to do it this multiple times. But if I'm just only declaring it and then returning it, so it's easier for me to just return it directly, okay? So just say return, and then we return the string. As we can see, now the method is not void anymore, display like display info was. This is a method with a return type, which is a string. So I should return a string here, okay? So I should return a string. So that's what this method is doing, okay? And then here in the employee demo, let me close the others. Okay, and then just open employee and employee demo. Okay, here. So here I can say employee1 dot get info. Okay, Did I print it anywhere? No. So that's why when we run this code, nothing will be displayed, okay? Because I didn't print it here. Sorry for the light. Okay. So I didn't print it here. I just returned. So I'll have to return it here. And then the same here. I can either declare a variable here and say string is equal to employee1 dot get info. Okay. And then just print it out, so I can print this variable. Or since I'm just printing it, I don't need to declare a variable. I just directly print it here. Okay, so I don't need to declare a variable. I can directly print it here. Okay, so I'm doing it different way. I'm just printing out whatever it's returning the class. So as you can see here, since in this class I didn't set anything. You see in the constructor, I mean the constructor is not there. We have an empty constructor. Just let me type it here. Employee is the same as doing this one. Okay, so we have a default constructor. I am calling this one from here, so I'm doing nothing. And then here the strings are null and the integers are 0. Okay, so these are the default values. So I want to set the values from outside. Okay, so I can either set it from the constructor, which what we generally do, or I can set the values from here, from outside. Okay, so let me ask you, can I? Wow, somebody said how to do the getters and setters. Okay, so can we set, let's say, the first name from here? Most of you will say no, right? Because they are private. Yeah, you say yes, but it's a no because they are private. Okay, m dot, I mean the variable directly. Can we all access the variable from here? First name. There is no first name. I cannot see first name from here, right? Yes. So I cannot use this one because this is private. Okay. So that's why I have to use the method. Okay. So the method here, set name. This will set the value. Okay. So I can say employee dot set name, set first name, sorry, and then I just give the first name, which can be John, Tim, Don, whatever, not Donald this time. Okay, so and then if I print the info, as you can see, I already set the name, first name. Okay, and then the same I can do with the last name and everything. So why do we use? Okay, so if I'm setting the value here, why do I need to do this one private and then just set the value from here? I mean, I could just do it directly. I don't need these setters and getters, right? Generally, we do this one because that's a concept in Java, which we call it encapsulation. So we want to control the setting of the values. Okay, so we say, let's say when we set the first name, before setting it, we say if the variable that is coming, the first name, okay, if the first name dot length, which is the string method, is smaller than 5. So if it's a, let's say smaller than 1. So if it's a or smaller than 2. Okay, so if it is a 1-letter name, so we don't accept 1-letter name, so we won't set it. Okay, so we just say return. Otherwise, we set the name. Okay, so what does it mean? If we put a short name, in this case, will this one work? Yes, John will work because it's a long name. But if I put just J and then try to run this code, as you can see, the first name is not set. If I use it directly from the variable, if I say, okay, let me use last name like this. Okay. Okay, now it's default, which means can be seen from this package anywhere. Okay, so this is a class in this package which can see it. So let me set employee1 dot set last name and then say just a letter M. Can I control it? No, you see the last name is set. Can I say here, okay, I don't accept 1-letter names, so I cannot do any control here. But if I do it through a setter, I can do any control I want. Let's say Social Security. If Social Security number okay, dot length is different than oops, sorry, different than 9, I think, yeah, whatever, how many letters are in Social Security, then we don't accept it. Return. Okay, so we're saying if it's not 9 letters, we don't accept it. Only if it's 9 letters, we accept it. But we cannot control it from here. So here in setter, we can do any control we want. So now we just do that control one time here, and then whenever and never we use, otherwise we could do it here, right? Let's say string last name equals M, right? We can put a letter there. And then before we set the last name, we can say if last name dot length if smaller than 2, I mean if it's greater than 2 or equal, then we set. So if I format now, you'll see that this one is inside if, or I can use parentheses here. So if I have only one line, I don't need these parentheses, but it's suggested because you can see it better. But if it's just one line, you don't need this one. You can just leave it like this, and it's doing the same thing. You already know it. Okay, so here I can control, but I have to control every time I set the last name. Control here, control here, control here. But if I do this control only once in this method, in the last name set last name method, so whenever I set the last name, I control it. So here I don't need to do any controls. Okay, I just say, and then here in this case again, since I'm controlling it here, again the last name will only be set if the length is 2 or more, and since the length is 1 here, this last name will not be set. How I know it's not set? Because I see last name is null. Okay, if I remove this control, I can set the last name, and then the last name is M, as you can see. Okay, so here I control the way of setting the variables, and the same thing we do for setting the variables. So I can make any control. So as you can see here, if I say employee 1 dot set social security number, and then just put a 1 2 3, a 3-digit number, this will not get, you see. Okay, actually this one doesn't display the social. Let me also display the social security number here, plus social security number equals, and then here plus SSN with a dash. Okay, and then here when I run, you see the social security number is not set, but if I put a 9-digit number, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9, so this is 9 digits, and then if I run, as you can see, now the social is set. And the same thing that we did for the setting, so we can control everything here in setters, the same thing we do for getters. What do? We don't want to display last name, right? So here we don't display, let's say we don't return the social security, so they can set the social security, but they cannot. So if I make this one private, so I mean that this method can be accessed only within this class. This method cannot be accessed from outside. Okay, so I cannot get employee 1 dot get, yeah, I can say get name, get info, get last name, but I cannot get social security because I make this one private. So I can control it. And another thing, so I can set it from outside, but I cannot get it. And the second thing is, let's say if you have a digit, let's say the age, right? And then the age, or let's say the first name and last name, you want it to be formatted. Okay, so you can say get, not last name and first name, but you can say here, let's add another method here. So you can say public string get name. Okay, so this will get full name. Let me just say get full name, so we know what we mean. So you can get the full name, which is return. You can say first name plus space plus last name. Okay, this is one way to do it. Or you can say, okay, no, I don't. And then always when you get the full name here, so let me just say here at the end, employee1 dot get last name, right? So this is a method I can call it, and when I run, it gives me the last name. Let me also set the name here because John. Okay, now I'm setting a name. I'm setting a last name, John Smith. It is a standard American name. So John, and then the last name is Smith. And then here, when I return get full name, this was my mistype. Okay, get full name. Then this one, what will print? Will print John Smith with a space. Okay, so every time you don't need to say first name space last name, because every time when you call it, you'll have to do this one, right? So you can say every time when you call, you'll say employee1 dot first name plus space plus employee1 dot last name. And then whenever you want to use it, you'll have to use it this way. Oh, this one is, that's why I can see, because this is visible. Let me make this one private. Okay, so let's save this one. So I cannot see last name, of course, but I can see get last name. Get last name, okay. Sorry for the mistake. Okay, so you'll have to do it every time, but here in this case, you just format it, and then if you change the format, you say from now on, when I say full name, I don't mean first name space last name, but I want to do this one. So let me just do it this way. Okay, from now on, if I say get full name is last name and then comma and then first name. Okay, so you just change it here, you just change it in one place, and then whenever you call full name here, you see it is formatted Smith, so last name comma first name. So if you want to change the way you'll use it, just change it in one place, and then it will be formatted always the same. Okay, so do you have any questions? Return and break are different things. Break is for loops. So if you have a for loop and then you want to break the loop, you say break or continue, which goes to the next loop. Return is for methods when you want to return, okay? And then if you use the return in a loop, then it will return from the method. So if you have any questions, I don't know if I was clear about encapsulation, and I think this too much information for today, so I don't want to go to continue too much. So if you're okay, if you don't have any questions, let's stop it here. If you have any questions, just ask me and then I'll answer about encapsulation, okay? I'm waiting for your questions, and then let's just. Okay, so we explained why we use, okay, we know encapsulation what it is, but this is why we use it, right? Okay, thank you so much. Let's stop it for today, and then see you next Monday, hopefully. Okay, thank you, and maybe I'll put this code there, if not today, tomorrow in Git, and also if there's any other questions, I'll answer it. Okay, thank you, good night.